He rammed her car on a Chicago street. Then told the police it was her fault. She said nothing. Because her dashcam had caught everything. And her uncle was already on his way. Chicago, Illinois. It was a Wednesday morning in October, and Keisha Reynolds was driving to her mother's house on the South Side. She had taken the day off work. She was a pediatric nurse at Rush University Medical Center, 3 12-hour shifts a week, and Wednesday was her day. Her mother had called the night before asking for help with the groceries. Keisha had been up since 7, had her coffee, had her playlist on low, had both hands on the wheel. She was doing 40 in a 40 zone on South Michigan Avenue when she felt it. The impact came from behind and to the left, sudden, hard, the kind of jolt that snaps your neck forward and fills your chest with cold before your brain has time to process what happened. Her car lurched. She gripped the wheel, controlled the skid, pulled to the right and stopped. She sat for exactly 3 seconds. Then she turned off her music. Check her body, neck, shoulders, hands, everything working. Then she looked in her rearview mirror. The car behind her, a black Range Rover, expensive, barely scratched, had clipped her rear left panel at speed. Not an accident. Not a gentle tap. A deliberate, aggressive lane change that had made no attempt to avoid her. The Range Rover pulled up behind her. The driver got out before Keisha had even opened her door. He was already talking before he reached her window. "You cut me off," he said. He was already on his phone. "I'm calling the police. You cut me off and damaged my vehicle." Keisha stepped out of her car slowly, both hands visible, expression completely neutral. She looked at the damage, her rear left panel crumpled, paint scraped. She looked at his Range Rover, barely a mark. "I didn't cut you off," she said. "You changed lanes into me." "That's not what happened," Brad said loudly. He was already talking to someone on his phone. "Yeah, I need to report an accident. The other driver caused it. South Michigan Avenue." He looked at Keisha with the confidence of a man who had never once been held accountable for anything. "You're going to pay for this." Keisha looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at her windshield, at the small black dashcam mounted just below the rearview mirror. She said nothing. She reached into her car and picked up her phone. She called her uncle. Not the police. Her uncle. Because her uncle was the police. "Uncle Marcus," she said when he picked up. "I've been in an accident on South Michigan Avenue. The other driver hit me and is telling the police I caused it." She paused. "I have dashcam footage." Marcus was quiet for exactly 1 second. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Stay calm. Don't sign anything. Don't move the car. I'm sending someone." Keisha put her phone away, folded her hands in front of her, and waited. But what Brad didn't know was that the dashcam had been recording the entire time, including the 30 seconds before the impact that showed exactly what had happened. The police arrived in 4 minutes. 2 officers, both white, both young. They looked at the scene the way first responders look at scenes, quickly, practically, already forming a narrative before anyone had said a word. Brad met them at their car. "She cut me off," he said immediately. "I had the right of way. She came into my lane without signaling and hit my vehicle." He showed them his phone. He had already taken photographs of the barely visible scratch on his Range Rover. "I want her cited. And I want her insurance information." The officers looked at Keisha. The taller one said. "Can you tell us what happened?" "He changed lanes into me," Keisha said calmly. "I have dashcam footage of the entire incident, including the 30 seconds before impact." Brad laughed. Dashcam footage she probably set up to scam people with. Keisha looked at him. Then at the officers. "I'd like you to review the footage before making any decisions." The taller officer looked at Brad. Then at Keisha. Then at the dashcam visible through the windshield. "We'll take a look," he said. Keisha pulled the footage on her phone. Handed it to the officer. The footage was clear. High definition. Time stamped. It showed South Michigan Avenue from Keisha's perspective. Both lanes. Traffic ahead. Traffic behind. It showed the black Range Rover in the left lane. It showed the Range Rover accelerating. It showed the deliberate lane change. No signal. No gap. Full speed. Directly into Keisha's rear left panel. It showed Brad's face through his windshield in the second before impact. Alert. Not distracted. looking directly at her car. The taller officer watched it twice. Then he looked at his partner. Then he looked at Brad. Brad's confident expression had started to slip. "Sir," the officer said slowly, "this footage shows you changing lanes into the other vehicle." "That footage she edited it," Brad said. "You can edit dashcam footage." "Sir." "I want a lawyer," Brad said. "Right now. I want a lawyer." The situation was at a standstill. Brad had stopped talking. The officers were on their radio. Keisha was standing beside her car with her arms folded and her expression absolutely neutral. The expression of a woman who had learned very early that the best thing you can do in a situation designed to rattle you is simply refuse to be rattled. The taller officer came back to her. "We are going to need to take statements from both parties. This may take a while." "That's fine," Keisha said. "Is there anyone you need to call?" "I already did," she said. As if on cue, a black SUV pulled up behind the patrol cars. Marcus Reeves stepped out of the black SUV. Full dress uniform. Stars on both shoulders. Badge that caught the October sunlight and threw it back like a signal. Both officers straightened so fast it was almost audible. "Chief Reeves," the taller one said. His voice had changed completely. "Sir, we weren't informed." "You weren't supposed to be," Marcus said pleasantly. He looked at the scene. At Keisha's damaged car. At Brad standing beside his Range Rover with his phone halfway to his ear and his mouth slightly open. At the two officers who were now very aware that every decision they had made in the last 15 minutes was being reviewed by the highest ranking officer in the Chicago Police Department. He walked to Keisha first. "You okay?" he said quietly. "Fine," she said. He nodded. Then he turned to the officers. "Walk me through what you have." The officers walked Marcus through everything. The call. The scene. The statements. The dashcam footage. Marcus watched the footage twice on the officer's phone. He said nothing while he watched. When it finished, he handed the phone back. He looked at Brad. Brad had put his phone away. His lawyer wasn't coming fast enough. "Sir," Marcus said. He walked toward Brad with the measured pace of a man who had been doing this for 40 years. "I've reviewed the dashcam footage. I've heard both statements. I'd like to ask you one question." Brad said nothing. "Would you like to change your account of what happened this morning?" The question sat in the October air between them. Brad looked at the footage. At the officers. At the chief. At Keisha standing beside her car watching him with an expression that hadn't changed once since he'd gotten out of his Range Rover. He started. "Take your time," Marcus said. While Brad was deciding whether to change his story, one of Marcus's plainclothes team members appeared at his side with a tablet. Marcus looked at it. Brad's driving record. 3 prior incidents in 4 years. 2 of them involving disputed fault. 1 involving a complaint of aggressive driving that had been filed and quietly closed. All 3 involving other drivers. All 3 involving the same story. The other driver's fault, Brad's word against theirs, no footage. This time there was footage. But there was something else on the tablet too. Something that made Marcus look up at Brad with a very specific expression. 2 weeks ago, Brad Collins had been involved in a road incident in Evanston. A black woman. Same story. She had cut him off. She had damaged his vehicle. She had been at fault. That complaint was still open. The Evanston officer handling the case had been trying to find additional evidence for 11 days. Marcus handed the tablet back. Pulled out his own phone. Made 1 call. "This is Chief Reeves," he said. "Get me the Evanston case file on a Brad Collins." "Yes. Now." Brad Collins was cited for reckless driving, filing a false police report, and leaving the scene of a prior incident. He was handcuffed on South Michigan Avenue at 10:47 a.m. in front of the morning commute traffic that had slowed to watch. His Range Rover was towed. His license was suspended pending investigation. And the Evanston case, which had been stalled for 11 days, was reopened that afternoon with the dashcam footage from this morning entered as supporting evidence of a pattern. The woman in Evanston got a call from Marcus's office by end of day. Keisha's car was assessed on the scene. The repair estimate was sent directly to Brad's insurance company with the dashcam footage attached. The claim was approved within 48 hours. No dispute, no negotiation, no back and forth. Because there was nothing to dispute. It was all on camera. Marcus stood beside Keisha after the patrol cars had gone and Brad's Range Rover had been towed, and the morning traffic had moved on and South Michigan Avenue had returned to its ordinary Wednesday self. "You did good," he said. "I didn't do anything," Keisha said. "I just stayed calm." "That's the thing," Marcus said. "That's everything." She looked at him. "The footage, though. Without the footage." "Without the footage, it would have been your word against his," Marcus said. "And your word would have been enough for me. But for the system," he paused, "documentation is armor. You know that." Keisha looked at the dashcam still mounted in her windshield. "Mom always said you taught her that," she said. "I taught everyone that," Marcus said. He smiled. "Come on. I'll follow you to the repair shop." Keisha drove to her mother's house that afternoon. Later than planned, detour through the repair shop, car in the shop for 3 days, borrowed her cousin's car, and sat at the kitchen table with her mother and told her the whole story. Her mother listened without interrupting. When Keisha finished, her mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Did you stay calm?" "Yes," Keisha said. Her mother nodded. Like that was the only answer that mattered. Like calm was the thing she had been waiting to hear. There is a conversation that black women in America have been having with their daughters for generations. It is not about traffic laws. It is not about insurance claims. It is about survival in a system that is designed to take the word of one person over another based on factors that have nothing to do with truth. Document everything. Know your rights. Stay calm. Make the call. These are not suggestions. They are inheritance. Passed from mother to daughter's daughter like a language that only some people need to speak but everyone should understand. Keisha Reynolds had been hit by a car on a Wednesday morning in October. She had been lied about to the police. She had been told her evidence was fabricated. She had stood on a Chicago street in the October cold and refused, absolutely refused, to give Brad Collins the reaction he was counting on. And the dashcam had done the rest. To every black woman who has ever been in a situation where someone tried to flip the story, who has been lied about, blamed for things that were done to her, made to feel like her truth needed more proof than anyone else's. Document everything. Every single time. Your calm is your power. Your evidence is your armor. And the truth, recorded, time-stamped, irrefutable, will always find its way to the surface. Stay calm. Keep the receipts. Know your worth. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Fire.